Today on CyberBytes the podcast, I'm stoked to welcome Nicole Jiang and Sanny Liao, both co-founders of human risk management vendor Fable Security. Fable burst out of stealth 2 weeks before Black Hat, and we talked about how a background in behavioural science and adtech, and then building incredible products together at Abnormal Security, is setting them up for success. I'm Oliver Legg, co-founder of Aspiron Search. Enjoy the show.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to welcome Sanny and Nicole, both co-founders of Fable Security, who burst out of stealth literally last week, the week before Black Hat. Welcome to CyberBytes, guys. How's it going?
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
It's really great to be here. It's really great to come back to Black Hat, and great meeting you as well.
Yeah, awesome. How does it feel being at your very first conference, like a week out of stealth?
You know, it's actually really, really amazing to see the support we're hearing from CISOs. We came out of stealth last week, so the article came out in Forbes, and what we were really, really surprised by in a really good way is that there's so many CISO security leaders out there who came out and told us, wow, you're solving a really, really important problem that's super overlooked. So we're just very excited now to have the cash to, build the company.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah, I think the sentiment we hear is, honestly, I think both Sanny and I have been in this business for the last 7-8 years at this point. And I know a lot of practitioners, security folks are like, we want something that's different in the security awareness in the human risk space. And when they saw our solution, they go, oh, it's finally here. So it's really nice to meet them in person, do the actual demo, unveil the product, as a launch company, and then get their reaction. So there's nothing like, doing that in real life and face to face.
Yeah, awesome. And so for people that haven't heard of Fable, you are in the human risk management category, and it's interesting how much that category has evolved, and there's been quite a few different names for what started as security awareness training. And I think really, really eager to understand, how is Fable actually differentiating in what is traditionally like quite a legacy, like anti-phishing type training industry? What are you guys actually doing to tackle this new category?
Yeah, so Fable is a cybersecurity platform that remediates risky behavior. So, as you know, in the last, if you're following any of the cyber news in the last couple of years, what we know is around 2/3 of the successful breaches out there actually originate from a human error. So what we do is we go into a company, we go and actually identify where the risky behaviors are, and then we use data science and AI to really target these risky groups of people, risky behavior, to change them through short form videos, through just-in-time nudges. We meet people where they are, and then we come back and validate that behavior has changed. So it's actually a very, very different shift in how we're actually addressing human risk from, in the old world, it's throwing a training over and you're telling people still useful stuff, but it's hard for people to grok. But what we're doing is that we're focused on behavior change, and we close the loop and come back and validate, hey, if we're identifying something that's risky, is that behavior actually changed or not?
Yeah.
I think to put in more like market context as well. So like the attack landscape has evolved rapidly, especially with AI, creating attacks that are so much more targeted, so much more personalized. And I bet you receive phone calls, text messages, emails, probably on a daily basis from people that you don't know. If you're watching out for this, because we're in the cyberspace, an average person just wouldn't know if they're real or they're fake, and they can get pretty creative. And so when we look at solutions that help keep employees secure directly, what we're seeing is basically a ton of training, annual training, right? Attacks evolve daily. Trainings evolve annually in a form factor that doesn't exist, that shouldn't exist anymore. And for us, we realized that because we can understand employee behavior using data today, we can use AI to generate hyper-personalized interventions, kind of like how attackers are using that to personalize attacks. We're using the same mechanisms, but to empower people as a layer of defense. It's a very different way. It's a very different system that we're building compared to the traditional, again, very content, generic, one-size-fits-all infrequent way. And so when we unveil our product to the customers, they go, this is nothing like a traditional training tool. This is the tool that extends our vulnerability management, extends our security operation, and extends their motivation to reduce risks for employees. And so our tool really elevates that conversation, not just from a training perspective, but actually allows our CISOs to be really strategic in protecting their employees.
Yeah, awesome. And both of you have mentioned quite a few times the behavioral side. And I think we'll obviously talk about what you guys both did from the really early days of Abnormal. But Sanny, your background prior to getting into security was marketing tech and behavioral science. So really eager to understand how that has ultimately led to you doing the behavioral side in the security space.
Yeah, absolutely. When Nicole and I actually started looking at this human risk space, we very quickly came to the realization that for us to actually be able to move the needle on human risk, we have to change behavior. Now, in security, traditionally, people will say behavior in security is incredibly hard to change. But when we looked at this problem, we realized, well, that's not exactly true. If you look at, where has behavior change been a science? Very obviously, adtech, social media. And that's actually when we started looking at, what we're doing in adtech, we very quickly had this realization of, hey, in adtech, if I can get someone to buy a pair of shoes, I should be able to get them to secure their accounts, right? So what's adtech actually doing differently that we can actually bring to security? So we're actually taking that science to the security side. And, a couple of nuggets from adtech that, we actually implementing into our product that, has really kind of bared very incredible results are in adtech, the reason they can actually get you to buy a pair of shoes you otherwise wouldn't, and the engagement rates are, the engagement rates that adtech sees is something like 50x different from a very personalized ad versus a very generic one. So the reason why it works so well in adtech is they figure out how to harness all the data they know about you, what you browse, what you're interested in, what are people who's like you interested in, to figure out how to deliver you an ad that's personalized for you based on stuff you're interested in, that's optimized for time of day, the medium, frequency, all of that. So we're essentially taking all of that science into security to say, okay, now, given that we're trying to change security behavior, what do we need to know about each person, each behavior, in order to actually target the right people with the right message, and what is the form factor we have to actually try to in order to engage with that person. And the secret with adtech is not that they got it right on the first shot. One of the most important fundamental parts of adtech is that they build experimentation into their system. So they're constantly experimenting with, the different ways to actually maximize engagement. And we've built that into how we build Fable as well. So you'll see, when we actually go and build our product, it's actually we optimize everything from, the form factor, the length of the video, the tone, whether it's a nodule video, where is it delivered at, time of day, frequency, the email, everything, right? Really taking that adtech science to security. And what we're seeing is that the results actually really speak for themselves. This is kind of, as a adtech nerd in security now, we've actually done a ton of experiments with our customers as well. So we'll run these A/B tests to figure out, if we introduce a certain intervention to change a certain behavior, is it working or not? And what we found, in one instance, we had one customer where they had a problem where they needed a set of employees to make a very critical security update. So we actually ran this as an A/B test. The control group is the traditional way of having analysts send out a PDF and, really just chase them down over 2 weeks to have them do this very critical action. And in the test group with Fable, we, send them something very personalized, optimized for everything, and we measure the results afterwards. And what we found was that the Fable group not only had a 40% higher engagement rate, so they actually took this action at a 40% higher rate, but they actually did it 13 times faster. So the median time for the Fable group to take the action basically was 4 hours, as opposed to the control group, which was 5 days, right? So if you're talking about security, that is a huge difference in this time of exposure that Fable is able to impact because of this like very, very personalized adtech approach.
And is it personalized per individual employee, or is it per just personalized by company and kind of like where they sit in the organization?
It's personalized to the employee, to the role, to that moment, to that behavior. This is actually the beauty of where we are today. We are at this confluence of, hey, we have this like great, all the science from adtech that we can bring over. But what's really different today is that now we have AI, right? And one of the things that AI is incredibly good at is generating very personalized stuff that's like human-like at the moment, whenever you need it. So we're able to really combine this like proven science with the latest tech to deliver this incredible experience.
I actually have an example. I think it would be really helpful to understand like what all of this attack and how that applies to human behavior. Like we talk a lot about this, like human behavior, human errors. Human errors is one of the, I think it's really the number one cause to cyber threats today. But a human error can actually look very simple. So one example is updating your operating systems. It's probably the thing that nobody really wants to do because you're in the middle of your work, you get a notification and it goes, hey, Oliver, I need you to update your operating system today. And you're like, I'm getting my work done. But here's the thing. If Fable tells you, did you know that with the latest patch, it introduced so much vulnerabilities to your organization? Your security team is doing so much to figure out how to protect you. But there's one simple thing you can do to help, which is just update your operating systems now. Would you do it? Would you do it now? Would you save hundreds of hours for your team? I think the short answer, I hope, is yes, because nobody really wants to be that one person that's creating a ton of issues for your entire business, for your business to get popped. So you do it because you understand the context. You understand why that's important for your business. You understand how easy it is for you to make that one click to make things happen. If I tell you, please update your operating system in the next hour, you're going to go, I hate this. If you go, there's so much things that can be better if you just do this one thing now, you do it. And that's the power of personalization, relevance, just in time, to really unlock the power of like being more secure. And your action actually gets rewarded, right? As a result of keeping the company safe. Maybe at the expense of you like taking this one action, but it's very minor compared to the actual impact. And so if Fable can help people realize that at scale, we're actually really changing the dialogue for someone to be actually a layer of defense, which is what we talk about, versus a layer of target. Sometimes when an entire like cyber incident happens, it traces down into one person didn't do this one action, or this one person did this one action. If you know, you think twice the next time you do it. So when we inject that context, it's super, super powerful, and people actually realize like they can do something to help.
It sounds so simple, but it's like getting it's making all the employees realize that this isn't just a tick box exercise that security wants you to do. It is like that camaraderie that you're creating within the team. So, yeah.
And sometimes when you do it, you also proactively catch bad guys from this too. Like, for example, updating operating system is one small piece. But one of the big things that we deal with is like link clicks, right? There's a lot of people who click on a link that they thought they were a legitimate link. They go in, they enter their credentials, and credential phishing, right? Credential stuffing is one of the biggest threat vectors going into, companies gaining credential sensitive data into someone's actual environment. And there's a really interesting stat. It takes less than 60 seconds for someone to click on a phishing link, not pay attention, enter their credentials, and then give all that away to the attacker. So what Fable is doing is to try to give you this, like within the 60 second, to make a really good decision to not do this action that attackers tend to, evoke, right? And so, and the way to do it is asking them to figure out how to pay attention. So if we can tell employees and say, look, the number one thing the attackers try to make you do is to enter your information in a site that seems unfamiliar with urgency. We do this in a way that's very tasteful, personalized, right? Like, Oliver, you're part of the accounts payable team. So if I were an attacker, I would ask you to go enter the bank account information, right? Because that's the key you have to the business. And so every time you do this, think twice. think about why attackers is asking you. And that pause would actually reduce so much of this exposure window, again, which is just 60 seconds. And so if an employee can be, again, very brief in a way that's tasteful, relevant, contextual, understand where the attackers are coming from, take that pause, there is a massive chance that threats can just be stopped because of that human awareness and understanding.
We've actually recently ran a case study on this exact use case, really helping people learn not to click on phishing links. And we, again, ran it as an A/B test. Control group got, the default treatment. Test group got a Fable treatment. And what we found is that with one Fable intervention, target intervention based on actually a concrete example of something that someone engaged with, we actually were able to reduce the chance of someone falling for a phishing attack by 86%.
Mm-hmm.
It's an impressive number.
It's massive in this world where security teams in general struggle to actually move this number by 10%.
Do you have any indication of what competition's success rates are?
That's a good question. So I think
the way I see it today, Oliver, is a lot of when you talk about competition, I think about our incumbents. And I think about the incumbents way, it's very much focused on training and simulations and kind of punishing people for clicking on links. And I have yet to see an approach where we go in and we say, let us help you figure out why it's important to recognize, to report, and to be a layer of defense. So the true answer is, I'm sure if there are more vendors doing it the way we do, everyone will win. But today, we're not really seeing a competitor thinking in the mindset where people can be that layer of defense, and we're using kind of like this adtech nurturing way to get folks to pay attention. So this is definitely something that, I think our customers and also our employees really appreciate to be part of that conversation.
Yeah, that's great. And I mean, touching briefly on both of your journey before starting Fable, because you were both the first 10 employees of Abnormal Security.
10. We started on the same day at Abnormal.
Same day, and there's a funny story about what you brought to the desk as well that I saw on the Red Point Capital video.
Yeah, well, we started on the same day, and back then Abnormal. It was just getting started. It's not this, giant company it is today. And our first task was that we had to put together our own monitor. So we're in the back of, the office, trying to put together this monitor with the tiny little, those little Allen keys.
Yeah.
And Nicole just whips out a multi-tool. Right. And I'm like, who walks on with a multi-tool? But this is obviously the one I want to work with. So that was the beginning of a very beautiful relationship.
I'm an engineer by training, so I bring a multi-tool around. I'm in my car, I'm in my backpack. You just never know when emergencies happen. And so that's when saying, I get stuff done. So
yeah. And kind of starting to come to the end, but what was the journey? Because how many years was it with Abnormal? It was like 6 or 7, right?
The company's been around now for 7 years, but we were there for the first 5 years.
Yeah, and what did going through that, incredible growth trajectory and growth journey with Abnormal enable you to kind of bring into this venture?
I can answer that. It was an incredible journey. The company, when we joined, it was pre-revenue, pre-customers, pre-product. We had a lot of concepts going into, reducing the number of phishing emails entering our customers' environments. And we, built an entire ML AI oriented system that's very, very different from a technological perspective compared to our incumbents at the time. Throughout the journey, I think both Sanny and I started as, product designer. I later ran product at Abnormal. Sanny started as a data scientist and ran data ML at Abnormal. So the two of us built a technology with an incredibly talented team, but we also learned a lot about working with customers, where their true pain are. You alluded to this earlier. Sanny came from adtech. I came from enterprise SaaS, building for very different products out there. So we both built a deep appreciation for the cyber problem, and that there are a lot of them and they're always changing. Towards the end of the company as well, right? We did the 0 to 100 million ARR journey. It was also a lot about not just building the business, the technology, working with customers, but also how we scale a business and make sure we can take that multiplier leap over and over. And so there's so much that we learn from there. We're very, very grateful for our journey. And so, and the idea for Fable, right, is also deeply influenced by, again, the customers we spend time there. One of our customers is, we actually protected the DNC last year, with their election. But a lot of that learning is also from, the crew we used to work with, during our time prior as well. And so all in all, right, we're super grateful. We learned really building the 0 to 1, building a startup is really hard. It's not an easy journey for sure, but I think it became really fun because we, the magic of building something, creating value it's priceless. So both and I just had to do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we're all in cyber. I think one of the things we don't realize is that building a company or product in cyber is a very different ballgame from building a company elsewhere. In a lot of different places, you build a product, you're trying to market it, you're trying to create demand for it. And cyber is very unique in that there's bad guys creating demand for you left and right? There's problems. So as technologists, this is actually a really fulfilling space to be in because we can come in here and we can say, well, we're technologists. We love solving problems. When we hear a lot of people telling us that human risk is my number one concern right now, I don't have any solution for it. That to us is so motivating. That's, the whole reason why what gets us up in the morning to say, hey, let's go actually build a product that can really solve the human problem.
Mm, fantastic. Well, you are one of a few really exciting companies that are coming out of that founding and very early Abnormal team. And super excited to see what the rest of this year and the future holds for you guys. So congratulations on coming out of stealth and looking forward to seeing you make it big.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.